Many believe a residual haunting to be the result of traumatic or high-energy historical events which are said to imprint themselves on the atmosphere and replay when the environmental conditions are correct. Although these claims have yet to be proven scientifically, there are many investigators throughout the world that base their research on the strength of theories such as these. Another less common haunting classification is a phenomenon known as a poltergeist or noisy ghost. Unlike a residual haunting, poltergeists can show obvious signs of intelligence since they very often interact and center themselves around a particular person or object. The very nature of poltergeist activity is the physical manipulation and often destruction of property. Therefore, it can, at times, pose certain physical dangers, and many investigators recommend that any investigation of this type of activity be handled cautiously. Although some believe poltergeists to be nothing more than telekinetic energy manifested through the victim's own subconscious distress, others believe them to be separate spiritual beings which find pleasure in the torment and harassment of others, or possibly lost souls desperately trying to gain our attention. Despite many years of study, a conclusive determination surrounding poltergeist activity has yet to be made. One of the less common but more popular classifications is what's known as a traditional or intelligent haunting. Unlike a poltergeist, a traditional haunting typically centers around a specific location and can portray a wide range of unsettling activity, which can encompass all of the physical and visual attributes of the other paranormal classifications. But there's one defining characteristic that separates a traditional haunting from all the others: the inclusion of a human or inhuman spirit. The apparitions and manifestations encountered in a traditional haunting can appear in a variety of forms. They can be as subtle as a cold spot or faint odor, and as vividly present as a bright ball of light or full-bodied apparition. Although the true form of these entities is not entirely known, many have their own opinion on why they appear the way they do.
It seems what the spirit is doing is projecting its image to you. It's projecting itself the way it sees itself. In other words, it may be projecting a mirror image as it knew itself in life. Or if it's a spirit of an inhuman nature, it's trying to make you believe something that it may be somebody from the Civil War dressed in Civil War uniform, or a small child. And incidentally, sometimes spirits wear not just period clothing, but bizarre clothing as well. They wear very minimal clothing, very, very plain, drab clothing.
Most of the time you hear of the stories, people are not dressed in modern style. They don't have a modern appearance to them. They're sort of old-fashioned or a different era. There could be a few reasons for this. One reason is it could be a residual style haunting, meaning it's just sort of a playback in time, not aware of time and space. And these are usually, according to case study, 100, 150 years old or so. That may be one of the reasons. Another reason is accessibility to locations. Most people that are investigating the paranormal are not in people's houses, are not in modern day structures. They're grave stomping in old graveyards. They're running around in abandoned buildings, going into old tuberculosis hospitals, all these places where you're going to see people of an older generation or a different style dress.
The appearance of ghosts is certainly a subject that is open to interpretation, but still, there's a bigger question in play. Why do these hauntings occur? Tales of apparitions and ghostly manifestations are thousands of years old. If these personal encounters are indeed the souls of those who have passed on, why do they linger? And where do they come from?
I think hauntings have been occurring throughout the history, at least the recorded history, of humanity. I think there are other dimensions that we don't totally comprehend or understand, and that they are concurrent with our dimension. And sometimes there's a bit of a time lapse or a crossover with these dimensions. I think that's essentially one of the main reasons that hauntings do occur.
A lot of it could be geopathic energy. A lot of it is just shifts in energy. You know, you have a house that might be standing dormant, nobody lives in it, It might go for years unhaunted, then a family moves in, they bring in kids, they might bring in energy, positive or negative, and it's kind of like lighting a torch in the middle of the woods. Sometimes it'll attract energy of the same kind.
You may be missing that element of unfinished business or untimely death, or you kind of need some sort of attachment, I believe, for a spirit or ghost to still be lingering there, and maybe we're just missing that.
In spite of the calm and quiet nature of some hauntings, entities can at times be far from peaceful. There are many researchers and psychics who believe that demons can play a large role in the spiritual infestation of a haunted location. Those troubled by demons or inhuman entities are very often the cause of their own infestation. It's believed that certain types of spiritual activities, such as seances and spirit communications, can open portals to other dimensions and allow these entities access to our world.
They usually opened up the doors somewhere along the line for that spirit to enter their lives. Were they playing with the Ouija board, tarot cards? Were they doing seances, spirit communications? These are all doors. And once those doors are open, spirit can come in. And spirit attracts spirit, whether it's human spirit or something on a negative level.
However, many skeptics equate the subject of demons to nothing more than a fairy tale or ancient mythology. But are these beings real? And what is their purpose in their torture and torment of our world?
The way I look at it is they are evil. They're conscious entities that are out to create destruction, chaos, and that's really what they're after. When you deal with an inhuman entity, it's usually focused on a specific family member in a specific home, and they're trying to break down their willpower. They're trying to break them down, and they're trying to make them miserable so that they can infest them.
They are at war with certain positive forces, and personally, I believe because we're God's creation, they are very envious of us because we've been given the gift of life and free choice. And that's why negative demonic hauntings occur, because it's a war against us and against God, our Creator.
The symptoms associated with a demonic haunting can range from small, insignificant manifestations to significantly more pronounced and dangerous activity, such as human possession.
Well, when you deal with lower level demons, you're basically dealing with something where they'll do little mischievous things and they'll flutter about, and I call it the flutters. And they're just like nonsense type things. Just enough just to annoy you, to let you know that they're around.
The difficulty in researching this type of activity, aside from its obvious inherent dangers, is primarily due to the entity's ability to appear in any form they choose.
A lot of times it can disguise itself as your grandmother, your grandfather, a deceased loved one, a child. It's very confusing and it will deceive you. Very seldomly will I ever come to a quick decision that we're dealing with human spirit or we're dealing with something on a negative level. Sometimes it could take several trips to a location or dealing with a person continuously to be able to solve that puzzle and see what the next step is going to be to being able to help that person out.
Whether the haunting is traditional, poltergeist, or demonic, it's very often an unwelcome and frightening addition to most homes. For this reason, researchers will often work with their clients to help find solutions and take steps to clear their homes of any unwanted or negative entities.
We give them different ways, different things they can do in their house. One big thing is to keeping up a positive energy will help immensely. Sometimes they can have priests come in and bless their home. That will never hurt. If the energy, the house isn't like free flowing, there's a lot of furniture and the energy is stifled in some areas, the more openness you have, the more it can flow. And we'll give them tips like that and things they can read, and we will always stay in touch with them. If they think things are fine and it comes up again 3 months later, they can get right back to us again. And we'll go back and look for another way to help. Every case is unique, basically, on their needs.
One particular method of clearing unwanted entities is what's known as an exorcism. Jim Bucknam, a medium and investigator for the Boston Paranormal Investigators Group, does just such a clearing.
What I usually do is, first the client will do a walkthrough with me through the house and show me the places that they think that they've seen the entity, and they'll describe stories to me about some of their experiences. So what I'm going to do is just walk all over the place. I'll go outside, I'll go upstairs, downstairs.
My daughter moved. She's in a lockup right now because she's become extremely mentally unstable. I just sort of kind of closed her door. Okay. It's a disaster area in her bedroom. It's very.
I need to look in her bedroom. I won't disturb her.
I'm just letting you know about this.
No, I don't really. I'm not
You're welcome to any.
Concerned about that. I'm more concerned with the energy and seeing what's what. To do that, I need to have the run of the house.
Go for it.
And then I go through myself, and I usually carry a legal pad with me, and anything that comes to me, any perceptions that I have, anything that I see, I write it down. It's sort of like it's like detective work. I want to know what's happening, why is this haunting taking place, what's the cause of it, what kind of entities are involved, how are the people being affected, and I go through that whole process. And usually when I go through a house, I may fill out 3 or 4 pages of notes, and that's just for myself, so that in the end, when I perform an exorcism, I know what it is that I'm dealing with.
Once the history and primary areas of the activity have been established, an exorcism is performed, typically in the most infected area of the home.
Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Odin, Odin, Odin. Freya, Freya, Freya. Thor, Thor, Thor. Amun-Ra, Amun-Ra, Amun-Ra. The great white buffalo, the great white buffalo, the great white buffalo. I'm calling upon Jesus, all 7 of the archangels, and various other mansions of light or mansions of God. I am asking them to come to that particular location where I am at. While I'm doing that, I'm tapping into the energy that they represent. And that energy is coming into me. And in many ways, I'm sort of like a magnifying glass or a key. On this residence, take any dark force entities therein and send them to whence they came and bind them there never to return. Dissipate any negative thought forms from within this residence to the universal substance. As I'm saying what I would like for them to do at that place, taking whatever entities that are there and sending them to whence they came and bind them there never to return, taking any object within the person's home and neutralizing it, getting rid of any negative energy that's in the house, closing any portals or doorways to other dimensions where these entities are coming through. And all that energy is coming into me from these different places. At the same time, the entities that are at the home are fighting me because they don't want this to happen.